Now, what if I told you guys that there are actually some ways that you can improve the smell of your fragrance? Picking the right fragrance is the first step. And trust me, there are tons of amazing, beautiful fragrance out there for men that you can wear to boost your attractiveness, increase your confidence, and make your overall outfit and appearance better. But there are actually some key specific things that you can do to make that amazing fragrance smell even better. When it comes down to it, you want to get the most out of your fragrance that you can, especially when you're paying a lot of money for these scents. You want to make sure you're wearing them to the fullest potential and that you're increasing your chances of getting you compliments, getting you noticed, or whatever your main goal of wearing that fragrance is. If you do any of these 7 things, or even better yet, all of these 7 things combined, you're going to be increasing the effectiveness of your fragrance, and honestly, you're just going to make it smell that much better. Now, let me know down below if you have any specific tips or tricks you like to do to overall increase the smell of your fragrance. I really want to hear from you guys, and also, I do appreciate you hitting the subscribe button down below, also turning on post notifications and liking the video. And now, let's get into this. Starting off with the first one on this list, and that one is shower with a scent-free or low-scent body wash. Now, me personally, I like to use standard traditional Dove body wash. Not only is it the best body wash I've ever used because of how much it lathers up and also how it makes my skin feel so much more moisturized every time, but it also has a relatively low and neutral scent to it. In most situations, you want to try to avoid using body washes like Zest, Axe, Irish Spring, all of those strong body washes for men. They smell great, don't get me wrong, and they do work pretty well. The problem is a couple of things, one of which they have a very strong scent, especially like the Irish Spring, the Axe, all those ones. They're pretty strong. So what happens is when you wash your body with that body wash and then on top of that you spray a fragrance over it, you're going to get a lot of clash, and it's not always going to match up very well. And also, those body washes typically just aren't that good for your skin. They have a kind of tendency to over dry your skin, and really at the end of the day, they just aren't the best in my personal opinion. But the main reason here, kind of staying on topic of this video, is that there's a lot of scent clash, and you really don't want that unless that's what you're after. If you are someone who doesn't want to wear fragrance, you just want to smell good, you can go with the good body wash that is going to smell good for a little while, but it's going to kind of fade off. But for us who are really into fragrances, you don't want to use that type of stuff because it is going to be a lot of clash and you're going to have conflicting scents, and really it's just not a good move. Second thing on the list you can do to increase the smell of your fragrance is to moisturize. Now, this is a pretty important one as well. Not only should you be moisturizing like your face and everything like that to keep it looking young and healthy, but also you should be moisturizing the area in which you apply your fragrance to. For example, on your neck. When you apply to your neck on these pulse points, it's always a good idea to use some scent-free moisturizer or lotion on your neck before applying. And this one is especially crucial for anyone out there who has issues with performance. If you happen to be someone who has dry skin or for whatever reason just doesn't get good performance out of fragrances, use this trick and it may just help you out a lot. Basically, the theory behind this is if you are someone with dry skin, what happens is when you spray your fragrance directly on your skin, because your skin is so dry, it kind of acts like a sponge. It absorbs all of that fragrance and sucks it in, and then that doesn't allow it to project out, and it doesn't really last as long either. But what happens when you use a moisturizer or a lotion is it adds a barrier right between your skin and you applying the fragrance. So instead of your skin soaking up that fragrance, the fragrance itself sits on top of that moisture barrier where the lotion is, and that really can help a lot with projection and increasing the longevity as well. So not only will it help out the performance of your fragrance, but it's also going to be good for your skin as well. So it's kind of a win-win. The third thing you can do to get the most out of your fragrance and make it smell even better is simply just to spray your clothing. Now, this is one that quite a few people do know about, but maybe if you're new to fragrances, maybe this is something you haven't done, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Typically what I'll do when I'm applying is I'll do 2 to 3 sprays on my neck region, typically 1 on each side, 1 on the front, and sometimes 1 on the back as well if I want to leave a scent trail. And I always like to hit myself with 1 extra spray on my clothing. So it would be right here on my sweatshirt, I would do an extra spray. And the reason why is simply for increased longevity. The fragrance will hang out on your clothing more than it will on your skin. And it's also good in the summertime if you're going to be outdoors or doing anything where you're going to be sweating. Instead of you sweating that fragrance off within a few hours and not smelling anymore, you can spray your shirt down and then That way your fragrance will still last, and you will still get some projection from spraying it on your shirt. It's not going to project as good as if you spray it on your skin on these pulse points, because it does require heat and your skin chemistry to kind of activate, so to speak, but you can get projection out of it, and really above all, it does increase longevity quite a bit. So again, this is one where most people know about, but for those of you who don't, this is a nice trick. Fourth thing you can do to get the most out of your fragrance and make it smell even better is simply just to go with more sprays. Now this one may seem pretty obvious, but for the longest time, I limited myself to like 2 sprays. Pretty much for every fragrance when I was first starting out. You can even go look at my older videos. I always said I did 2 sprays, and that's what I did, because honestly I was afraid to go with more sprays. I didn't want to be that guy who, reeked of cologne, and I really honestly just didn't want to draw that much attention to myself. So I always limited myself at 2 sprays. Now at this point, I'm finding myself going with like 4 or 5 sprays, depending on the fragrance, depending on the situation, sometimes 6 if I'm outdoors, if it's a weaker fragrance, so on. But I do spray a lot heavier now, and there's a couple reasons for that. One of which being that it's a lot easier for me to enjoy the scent, right? Going with 2 sprays, if it's a strong fragrance, I can smell it on myself, but if it's not the strongest one, I can't smell it on myself that much from just 2 sprays. So that's really kind of one of the main issues there. So I do spray myself down with more sprays now. That way I can experience the fragrance for myself better, because that's really kind of my favorite part about wearing these fragrances, is being able to smell it for myself, because I do love a lot of these fragrances that I own, and wearing them is a lot of fun. So I do go with more sprays, and then also just for the fact that it does project more, right? When you're wearing these nice fragrances, it's okay to want people to smell you, and I do feel like some people limit themselves to the amount of sprays they do. Maybe they only do 2, maybe they only do 3, maybe they only do 1, who knows, right? But you want to experiment with it. And I'm not saying to go out there and wear 10 sprays everywhere you go, wear 10 sprays going to your office job, right? That's not a good move. However, I do think that most of you can probably get away with going with a couple extra sprays and not have to worry about it. I don't want you to limit yourself or hold yourself back, because to be honest with you, to smell like one of those cologne guys, more likely than not, you're going to have to be wearing something like Axe. You're going to have to be wearing something super cheap smelling to kind of get put into that crowd. If you're choosing something that smells fantastic, like all the fragrances I talk about on this channel, and you also aren't going too overboard, you can kind of find a nice middle ground there. And it's something that once you do, you'll find that you enjoy wearing fragrances a lot more. Number 5, I don't even know why I have to say this one, and it pains me. It really does. Number 5 is simply wear deodorant. Okay, wear deodorant. And for a lot of you, you're probably like, that's stupid. I wear deodorant. I don't need to hear this one. But I've walked by some men out there who don't wear deodorant. They don't take this tip. They don't do it. And it sucks. So don't be one of those people. Make sure you wear deodorant when you leave the house, especially if it's summertime or springtime or it's hot in the area in which you live. Wear deodorant, and especially for us guys who are wearing cologne as well, there's no worse smell than mixing BO with a fragrance, right? It just kind of seems like you're trying too hard, and it just makes you look even worse than if you just smelled like straight up BO, in my opinion. It's like you're trying to cover up your BO with a fragrance, and it doesn't work. It's not going to work ever. So yeah, don't be that guy. Make sure you wear deodorant. It's going to be good for you so you can enjoy the fragrance and not smell bad. It's also going to be helpful for those around you, and trust me, people will appreciate it. Number 6, we have wear the right scent for the right occasion. Now this one's really important as well, and this one can be intimidating to those who are just starting out. I remember when I first started out, people were talking about, oh, I wear this scent for this situation, this fragrance is only good for this situation, and I was like, what the heck? Like, how am I supposed to know this stuff? I don't know how people figure out what scents are good for each situation, and to be honest with you, it just comes with practice. It comes with time. You'll find that after you smell a good number of fragrances and you wear a good number of fragrances in different situations, you kind of figure out what works, and it's a lot easier to kind of smell something than determine what situation it'd be good in. When you're first starting out, again, it can be intimidating. Just don't take it too seriously while you're learning. I don't want you to stress yourself out over it, but there are definitely some situations that require certain types of fragrances. For example, in an office, you want something that's going to be relatively mass appealing and not too strong, whereas in a party environment, you want something that's going to be very strong, very mass appealing, and a lot of times very, very sweet. So there are certain characteristics of fragrances that you can match up to certain situations in your life. So it just takes practice. And this is another one, kind of like where I was talking about the number of sprays. Once you get this down, it just makes everything so much easier. It makes everything so much more enjoyable, and it really can be a lot of fun to kind of coordinate your fragrances. And when you wear them, be like, hey, you know, I got work tomorrow, I'm going to wear this fragrance, but then after work I have a date, I have a dinner to go to, so after work I'm going to spray this fragrance. So it can be kind of fun to coordinate this stuff. And again, it's one of those things where once you get it down, you'll find yourself enjoying your fragrances so much more, and also you'll find yourself just getting better feedback overall from the people around you. If that's what you're into, choosing the right fragrance for the right situation is something that people will notice, and they will, you know, want to compliment you on that. Now, the last one on this video, number 7, experiment with fragrance layering. Now, this is one that people actually kind of get upset over. They say, you know, fragrance is an art and you should never mix fragrances together. And I do agree, fragrance is an art, right? However, I don't see a problem with wearing 2 different fragrances at the same time. That's just my personal opinion. When I layer fragrances, I'm not mixing them into a decant and then shaking them up and spraying them on myself. What I'm doing is I'm spraying one fragrance right here, one fragrance right here. Wearing 2 fragrances at once, layering, whatever you want to call it. I don't have an issue with that. Some people do, and that's fine. Do what you want, but I do think there is a lot that you can get from layering fragrances and just kind of experimenting with wearing different things at once. There are quite a few fragrance layers that I personally like to use quite a bit, and they are very successful and they do work really well. Maybe at some point I'll do a video on like some of my favorite fragrance layers, but don't really plan on covering too much in this video. One layer that I like to do quite often is aventus and Elysium. That's probably my number 1 fragrance layer. I typically go heavier on the Elysium side because aventus does overpower it at times, so I'll do maybe 2 or 3 sprays of Elysium and then maybe 1.5 sprays of aventus, just kind of depending, but typically I'll just do 1 spray of aventus because it is overpowering, and I like my Elysium to be a little bit stronger in that layering concoction there. But I do like doing that layer. I do think it smells fantastic, and that's kind of my ultimate like layer that I do when I just want to smell the best possible. Those are 2 of my favorite fragrances. I mix them together, I wear them at the same time because that's what I like to do, and it smells great. So I do encourage you to experiment with this yourself. And again, for any of my beginners out there, this may seem intimidating. You may be like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to mix together. And again, don't stress over it. Don't think you have to do this to smell good, because you absolutely do not. But it is something that after you get more experienced, you kind of figure out what works together. You try stuff out and you'll be surprised. So guys, there you have it. That was 7 ways to instantly make your fragrance smell 10 times better. Again, make sure you let me know down in the comments, what are some fragrance tips you do to increase the overall scent and get the most out of your fragrance. And also, of course, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, do all that good stuff. That's going to do it for me tonight, guys. I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.